All right, episode 54. And today we have a guest, and it's my good friend Angel. Now, Angel asked me to not make her cry on this episode, but
Okay.
I'd like to mention that I've known Angel since we were in high school. And before that, this is generational. Angel's dad and my dad were good friends.
Oh,
So, yeah, so we know that they're somewhere together. Couldn't necessarily say it's
Watching
above us.
this. Mm-hmm.
It's like more lateral,
Looking
you know,
down.
more like over here, maybe like in purgatory.
Yeah.
But so Angel and I have known each other for a long time. And the reason that I wanted to bring her on today is that Angel did something very interesting
okay.
that I think at our age, like, over 50,
Hmm.
I don't think a lot of people would do because it would be outside of their comfort zone. So, Angel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, even though I know everything, and then tell us what it is that you did.
So, yeah, Ellen and I go way back, which is great.
Oh, me and Katie, this is great. Love this.
Yeah. So yeah, partially retired teacher, substitute teacher for English when the spirit moves me to deal with kids in the classroom. But I heard of this program called WorkAway, and it's typically it seems, at least based on my one experience with it, that it is geared toward Europeans in their like 20s, sort of like post undergrad age, who are looking or taking a gap year, who can just travel anywhere around the globe and participate with a host. Do you have a question already?
And who don't have a husband and children.
Yeah, well, right. So married for 1,000 years, I don't know, since 1998,
Much.
but together 7 years before that, three sons grown. And I've been wanting to travel to Europe for a while and have never gone. Been to Costa Rica, obviously been to Canada, went to Margarita Island out off the coast of Venezuela for my honeymoon many years ago. But beyond that, that was the extent of my travel. So this seemed like a really economical way to do it. You basically pay for your flight, and in exchange for your labor, the host puts you up and feeds you. So you can do it anywhere from like 1 week, 2 weeks, depending on the host's needs. You can go for months if they need that. I went for 2 weeks and spent 5 days in advance of that in the south of France with my youngest son, who will be 24 next year. And we just had a lovely time, and it was quite an experience. I was like the granny of the group because I'm 55, and most of these kids ranged in age from like 23 and topped out at like 30. So it was an education in many ways. So I spent time outside of Pisa in Italy in a little town called San Giuliano Terme. That was gorgeous. And I worked on the side of a mountain trimming olive trees. It was incredible, very taxing on the body, but there are a range of, I encourage anyone who is looking to have a little sabbatical of sorts, and looking to do it fairly economically. It's a wonderful program. It's great.
So, okay. So let me ask you this, because I have so many questions. And even though you and I talked about it, I didn't get to ask because I was checking in with her while she was over there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, what's the living situation like? Like
The accommodations.
Yeah.
the accommodations, exactly.
Well, I think that I really lucked out because the place where I stayed is called La Lucertola. They have a website, you can look them up. It was stunning. I mean, it was up on the mountainside. They had basically two big houses, one where the hosts lived, he and his wife, and then a place where all of the workaway people were, and there were 6 of us in total. And the accommodations were lovely. It was clean. He was a great cook. He bought us all kinds of food. He bought us beer. It was wonderful. It was great. However, I spoke with some other folks who had less lovely accommodations and had less lovely experiences. So I think I lucked out. So if anybody is interested in looking into it, it is well worth your time to look at the reviews and see what's what. Where I was, this guy got tremendous reviews. Everybody had a great time. Everything was on the up and up. Everything that he claimed we, as the workaway folk, would be responsible for, we were. So everything was clearly outlined. His communication was, exemplary. So I had a great experience. But it's yeah, he rents it out to, I think, larger groups, this place. Um, so, and he's a very moneyed gentleman who made his money. He's from England originally, the host that I went to work for. And he's like 61, but he and his wife, I think, made their nut while they were living in England, but they've been in this little town they bought this home for the last 23 years. So it was an incredible experience. I can't say enough
Wow.
about it. It was great.
I had a question because we never got to it, and I was like, okay, tell me about your roommates. Tell me exactly
So
what you said when I asked you that. Keep it clean.
I will keep it clean.
Keep it
So
clean.
the roommates, so the way that this host typically runs his thing, he runs it in the spring, and then he runs it again in the fall when the olives are ready to be harvested. So he gets a total of 6 people, 3 men, 3 women, and they were, you know, what did I say? I said that they were very, very bright, well educated, bright. And I think I said they were socio emotionally, and I used a certain word that I won't use, but they were socio. No, I will use it because it is what it is. They were socio emotionally a little bit retarded. And by retarded, I just mean late. They
Mhm.
just stunted and
Late
kind
to
of
the party. Right.
late to the party, like, had difficulty kind of, like, reading the room, very entitled, like,
Mhm.
I think because I was there, and it was funny because the host warned me of this in writing when he and I were corresponding before I agreed to take the gig. How did he put it? "Some of the more mature people we've had that have come," he said,
Old.
uh typically will get saddled with the expectation that the cleanup and he was
Oh,
not wrong. He was not wrong.
oh.
Well, you
Yeah,
told
he
me,
was.
and this is what I meant to ask you, because when I read this text from you, I laughed. And you said, there's a couple from here and a couple from here, and there's this one girl from here. She's like, and you were like, and she needs to be humbled. I was like, oh, like, are you gonna do that?
Oh my
'Cause
god, and I'm usually the one to pull that trigger. It's usually me. Yeah. Yeah.
and I was like, you're gonna humble this chick? I can't wait to hear about it. Tell me.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I can see how the natural progression, like when you walked in the door, they were probably like, all right, like she's probably gonna like cook for us and stuff. Like,
Oh, man,
this is
right?
great.
Yeah.
Well, because the youths these days, as we know, and this is global,
The Utes. Yeah.
there's a lot that they just can't or want to
Mhm.
do. And so, so that was my one question because I was like, why does this chick need to be humbled? Then I was like, I can pretty much guess that she's probably like not doing shit around there.
Mhm.
And you
Actually
you run a tight ship sometimes.
It actually was not true. In this woman's defense, I will say she was 32, had left home. She was from outside of Shanghai.
Mhm.
Her English was very good. She was currently living in France, but had done a number of workaway jobs. An incredible. Works at some like I don't know, Michelin rated restaurant. She was a beautiful cook. She worked her ass off. The humbling, I think, if I'm gonna humble my own shit for a minute, is that I think I was intimidated. First of all, everybody wanted to bang her. I think even the women. I mean, she was stunning. She was smart. She was well traveled. She worked her ass off. I mean, she was terrific, but it almost like triggered stuff like my own perfection shit. Like her crazy perfection just took a big old flashlight and made me recognize my own. So I think I felt a little threatened by her, but because she was like King Midas. I mean, everything she touched that turned to gold. And every time she opened her mouth, people were like, oh, tell me more, you know? So
You
I
are
was probably a little
fascinating.
jealous, to be honest.
Oh, ooh. See, now this wasn't just a
Ooh.
trip like
Mm.
where you geographically traveled. It was like a trip you like spiritually traveled.
Oh.
Oh,
This is
yeah.
my point, and this is why I wanted to talk about this because you went to a different place. You know, you went outside of Pisa, Italy. You had the couple of days in France beforehand, but it wasn't so much exactly your location because you told me like two little things that happened. Um, the one with the priest and the one with the bar that you wound up at.
Oh,
Tell those two.
The priest.
the priest.
Well, it's not
So
how that sounded. I didn't mean to. You know what I'm
no,
saying? It
things
was
didn't
priest.
get
It was a
dicey with
priest
the priest.
like
And
thing.
no, it was incredible actually. So my father, and Ellen will appreciate this because you and I both were very, 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 very close with our dads. Um, my dad's family was from the Naples area, and I never made it down south that far. But my very last day that I was there, I was flying out of the Pisa airport, and at least based on the feedback of my coworkers at the time who had gone to Pisa, saw the Leaning Tower, they're like, meh, it's not that great. It's just, if you miss it, you miss it. But I was flying out of there on a Tuesday night. And so I got there a little bit early in the day so that I could walk. I thought it was lovely. I mean, it was touristy, sure, because Leaning Tower, but I was near the Leaning Tower and I'm watching all the people. And I was walking toward, I wanted to go see some Fibonacci museum. That's a whole other story. I missed it, whatever. I got there 5 minutes after it closed. But as I was walking toward the main sort of center of the town, there was a priest walking toward me. And I just walked up and he was walking past me. We were walking past each other. And I said, Padre. And he put his hand on my head and he said, "What did you do?" Blah, 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 like whatever in Italian. I didn't know a fucking thing he was talking about. But it was so heartfelt and I
Oh.
was so moved. And I hope to God he gave me a blessing. I assumed it was a blessing, unless maybe he was trying to rock some kind of exorcism on the spot. I don't. But my eyes filled up with tears. And it was very moving. Thank you for reminding me. I had completely forgotten about it.
Jeez, excuse
I
me.
didn't. I
Blowing
don't forget.
stuff up here.
I don't forget anything. But I mean, like, because okay, Angel and I are also the same in the sense that we were raised Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Irish Catholic family, Italian Catholic family, you know, you really don't have any options. And so we were both raised Catholic, but it's not like we necessarily like I don't go to church anymore
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
for numerous reasons. But do I still have faith? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so when you told me that story, because you know, here we've heard so many horrible stories, obviously, you know, especially in Buffalo, there's parishes closing down because of the amount of money they have to pay out to blah, 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 blah. We won't get into all that.
Right.
Right.
But when you come across like you did, totally like um what's what I'm looking for? Like, on the fly, I guess is the best way to put it. Um and he just like reaches out and blesses you and
Yeah.
then just keeps going.
It was incredible. I had
Right?
tears running down my face, and all
Yes.
I could say was "Grazie mille," and he was like, "Hmm," and he just kept going. Um, it was yeah, it was really powerful.
Need a little bit more of that. I'm not just saying it
Mm.
has to be a priest, but like need a little bit more of that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so like it just seems so fitting that it was like an Italian priest, like, in this, and it just seems so like, I don't know,
The
like it was,
setting, the leaning
yeah, like,
tower in the background.
yeah, like it was out of the Thornbirds or like, She's coat or something. But that this is why, because this trip, there's a couple of things you told me about. So like my actual main focus here is not people doing WorkAway. My
Yeah.
actual main focus here is people getting out of their comfort zone and doing something surprising. And I remember because you'd been talking about this for a while and you checked it out here and you checked it out there, like probably over the last year.
Yeah, yeah.
We would kind of check things out. And then the one day I think I was texting with you and because this is Angel makes me laugh. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Makes me laugh in a good way. Because I texted her and you're like, yeah, I just kind of like fucking booked my flights. And Andy just came home and I just kind of like told him, like her husband.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
knowing Andy, he was like, okay. All right. So I guess you're going, like
Well,
because you were
goulash.
like, you said, because that was the whole conversation. You were like, no time like now to pull the trigger.
Yeah,
What's the point of sitting around and waiting?
right.
This is something I want to do. Um, my kids will be fine. Well, your kids are older, but even if they were younger, they'll be fine. You
They would
know,
have been fine. Yeah.
it was just like you going on a vacation, but like going outside of, I mean, like you'd never been to France, you'd never been to Italy.
Right.
What do you do? She books an Airbnb in France and basically like books her
It's
flight to
like,
France. Is like, okay,
I'm
go.
gonna go. I mean, and I
Yeah.
did it. I did it
Mhm.
pretty white knuckled, but I also knew that if I didn't do it then, when was I gonna do it? Now it helped that it was, the end of well, I booked it at the end of January in Buffalo, and when I'm thinking
Yeah.
anywhere warmer will be good, but it was and without getting political about anything, it was like, what the fuck is going on in the world? And I'm like, what if we shut the border? What if I can't go?
Yeah.
What if so I had
Well,
all of these
there's
what
that.
ifs, but they weren't what ifs in a catastrophizing way. They were what ifs, like if I don't do it now, then fill in the blank. And so yeah, I did it afraid. I left afraid. And as I was driving to the airport, my husband was dropping me off at the airport on February 23rd, I think it was, 23rd or 24th. And I said to him before I left, I said, I think the thing that I am most excited about is the woman I'm going to meet when I get there.
Mhm.
And he's like,
Who's that?
yeah, he's like, did you meet someone? I'm like, no, ding dong. I'm talking about myself. I
Right.
can't wait to meet the person I'm going to get when I land in this spot.
Mhm.
And I'll tell you what, I could just as I flew through the air, I could just and I thought and I journaled. I didn't even watch a movie. I just stared out the window. I sort of raw dogged it, no phone, I was just thinking and writing. And I could kind of just start to feel the layers of shit of being buried in motherhood and wifedom and do bitch, and I could just feel the layers peeling away. And when I got there, and when I got to France, that was an incredible experience. And just to be there by myself for a little bit, and then my son met me. Um, I was like, oh my God, I can do hard things. It was like incredible. It was incredible. It was incredible. And I don't think I've lost her yet. Because my concern as my time started to close on this trip was,
Mhm.
please God, don't let me get buried again, you know? Maybe
Well,
that's what
don't
the
let me
priest was
just
telling me.
rubber band back to who I was before I left, like this never even happened, right?
That's right.
There's 2 other things I wanna bring up. I remember
Yeah.
everything. You tell me these stories and
I love that you remember this stuff. You remember it better than I do.
so another story that you told me is one day when you were at the place, the Olive Grove or whatever,
Yeah.
and you ran out of tobacco. Angel's fancy, she rolls her own cigarettes from loose tobacco,
Uh-huh.
and so she decided ran out of tobacco, and I know how it is with you because there's been 2 times now I had to go to fucking Hurdle and buy you loose tobacco from Terrapin Station when I was coming
I
down to see you.
know. Thank
And
you, honey.
so and I'm walking in going, she likes this one kind, like, what is it, Turkish? What do you like?
It's
What's it called?
Norwegian.
Norwegian, some
Peter Stokkebye Norwegian blend. Plug. Maybe you'll get a sponsor out of this. Who knows?
why not? But like, so you said you texted, no, you told me this story, and you said, well, I was out of tobacco, so I thought I'd go into town. Tell this is what I
This,
don't know if
this.
I would do.
Oh, these are all the things. I'm so glad you're reminding me of these things because I've been meaning to write them all down in my journal, at least start the book I promised I was going to write. But
You're gonna write a book, and I'm gonna be ghost whatever
I,
or editor.
Oh,
Like I was waiting for the pages. You said April 7th. It's freaking April 21st.
oh my
get on
God.
it, get on it. Yep.
So I walk to the bus stop, right, which is basically at the base of all these switchbacks on the side of this guy's mountain villa. And I catch the bus and it's fine. I get off at the right stop and I've got my phone and I've got the directions for the nearest place where I can go buy tobacco. So I'm walking. I'm like, what the fuck? So then I look at my watch or my phone rather, and it was telling me it was a 15-minute walk from the bus station. I'm like, I can handle that. And people walk everywhere in Europe, right? And the
Right.
public transportation is great. So I'm I'm walking and I see it goes from 15 minutes to like 55 minutes. So I
Ooh.
don't know if the GPS got, and I'm just like, fuck it. I'm just going to keep going. And I'm walking and I'm passing these places and it looks all residential. And then, hallelujah, I look up and there's like this beautiful little church. And right next to this beautiful little church are like people's homes, like little apartments or whatever. And then I look up and I see, and now I'm thirsty. I'm
Oh,
very thirsty because I've been walking and I see it's a bar. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stop in. I'm going to grab a beer and I'm kind of hungry. So I walk into this place and there's just like a few locals, speaking Italian. And I look and they sell beer and food and tobacco. I spent the
uh,
next 5 hours there just chatting people up, making friends. And so toward the end of the night, I'm like,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'll just get a lift home." Like, fuck it, I'm not gonna take it, not gonna get the bus at this point. I already walked 40 minutes, right? Now it's dark and I never felt unsafe there. But I'm like, I'll just get a Lyft or an Uber. Well, Lyft and Uber pretty much don't exist, right? They
Right.
say they've got some other. So I just start chatting up these younger people. I'm like, look it. I'm like, I'm heading back in this direction. I tried hitchhiking because everybody hitchhikes. Nobody was picking my old ass up. I tried tightening my pants
Did
and
you
lifting
put your
my
leg
shirt
out there?
waist and shaking it a little.
Pull
I
your
got
skirt
nothing.
up?
Nothing. So these people are like, I said, if I get you guys a round of drinks, I go, is there somebody who can take me back? They're like, yeah, we're heading in that direction. It was fine. So I think I bought a couple beers for myself, some food, a pouch of tobacco, um, a round of drinks for these people, and it was under like 20 euro. I was like,
And
what?
weren't your beers like 40 ounces?
Yes, they were like I'm like, "Do these come with paper bags?" Like, it was incredible, it was incredible. Peronis and
Oh, I
Morellis or
love
whatever.
Peroni.
yeah,
Oh,
me too.
so
Love
good.
Peroni.
It was just such a great experience, and these people didn't know him from Adam, and they just gave me a ride, and I'm like,
Mhm.
"Where am I? I'm not in the States anymore, and this is great." It was awesome. It was
Well,
awesome.
the one text that I sent to you, I was like, just checking in. And you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm coming back. And I was like, ah, all right.
I think I'm
Fuck your
good.
husband, I
Good.
guess.
I'm
He'll be
good.
fine. But I
Yep.
mean, just the certain things you're saying. Because when you told me that story, And when you had been walking for a while and you were like, you said you started to panic a little bit
I
because you were
did.
like, I don't really know where I am
Mm,
Yep.
or where I'm going or what
Right.
any of the names of these towns are. And now I'm far enough away from the place where I was staying in the
Right.
bus stop. And so you said when you walked into the bar, you were kind of like a little bit, you were like anxiety. And the bartender guy was like, okay,
That's right.
okay. He's
That's right.
like, you're okay. He asked you your name. He
Yep.
was like, Angel, you're okay. You're okay.
Breathe down. Honey, you're okay. You're safe. You're
I'm
okay.
saying that that wouldn't happen in the US. I'm not saying that there's not nice people, but hitchhiking, not a shot in hell.
that, yeah.
I think
Right.
would any of us do that. Getting
Right.
a ride from a stranger, well, that's twofold here. I wouldn't give a ride to a stranger because I'd be afraid he'd kill me, and I wouldn't take a ride from a stranger because I would be afraid he'd kill me. So like, but not over there.
You
You
know
know,
what? I'm laughing, but this is our mindset here because by and large, it is not safe for women, especially.
Mhm.
It's not. It would be foolish. And when
it's
I
just a turn.
heard, yeah, that
Yeah,
these
I mean, not
people
only would it be foolish to be then you turn around and you'd be blamed for it if something happened to you. Yeah,
100%,
yeah.
100%. Yep.
Isn't that horrible? Okay, and so the last one I remember, Angel and I are very similar in also the sense of our relationship with our mothers, which is delightful for the most part. But then we also have our like,
Little
struggles,
peccadillos, little
little quirks
bugaboos.
and
Yeah,
stuff. And
yeah.
you said that this trip, when you got back, you fell in love with your mother again.
I did, which is just I still haven't pulled all the pieces together or been able to really fully understand what happened. I
Mm.
think it was the priest, man. I think the priest did it. Cast a spell on
He
me.
put
No,
a
but
spell on you.
seriously, I think I don't know it's like the whole of the experience was so much more than the sum of its parts. And I think that said, what happened is having the experience among these younger people,
Right.
I think I got to experience in some ways without really even being conscious of it. All the things my mother had gone through and been and different phases of her life. She's going to be 86 and she's still going. She's like an
Same
energizer
age.
bunny.
Shirley and Marilyn,
Yeah.
they're not gonna stop. But your family, so like mine was 3 girls, but you, Angel, are the youngest, only girl of an all-boy family of how many brothers?
Yeah, four brothers.
Wow.
Yep, 3 of whom are still here. My oldest brother passed, but no, it was a very male-dominated household, and even my mom, who, she was tough and she got things done, and my brothers definitely listened to her. She was tough on me, no question, she was really tough on me, but it was a very masculine household, and my mother upheld that. There was a ranking, and the women the dudes were here and the women were here.
Mhm.
But I don't know. I still can't figure out what it was that clicked where there was some kind of grace that I felt toward her, a compassion I felt toward her, an admiration for her experiences. Um, yeah, I don't know.
Hmm.
It was very powerful. It was very healing for me.
See, I
So,
think that's a lovely story. And like, so Shirley's 86, Marilyn's 86. And not so much was your house, well, it was male dominated, but then on top of it, your family owned a sporting goods store. So
oh yeah.
talk about like, because I mean, when you think about sporting goods stores back in like the 80s and stuff, it's male dominated. I mean, fine.
Right.
So you really had this like, yes, a very much male dominated family where I did not.
Right.
Like my dad and then my mom and my 2 sisters, but my dad was raised by his mother, his grandmother, and his 2 sisters because his father died when he was 8.
Mhm.
So there was this like, but Angel and I still had this like commonality, maybe because our parents knew each other and stuff like that. But like, I No, I do. I dearly love my mom. I mean, there are things that she does that now I've told Katie this before, that now that we're older, I find funny. I don't find them annoying anymore. I find them funny.
Right.
Like she sent the entire family, even the ones who don't live here, like all the nieces and nephews, my sisters, me, my kids. Angel has been to my place in Canada. And
Mm.
my mother sent us, oh, it's like Angel's happy place. She went
Oh,
there one day when I
nice.
wasn't even there. My mother sent us a text to the whole family, and you'll get this, Angel. She's like, everyone, the Thompson Road exit is closed. Do not take the Thompson Road exit if you're going to
Ah,
the then she
Marilyn,
gives a whole list. You must
she's a
take
beauty.
Convention Road, which is before Thompson Road. I was like, oh my
Mom, we
God.
know.
But the
We got
grandkids
this.
are so great because they're like, like Peter's like, thanks, Gma, and Grace like, thanks, Gam Gam. And like she needs to
God
so
love her.
like those are the things I laugh about. But I loved the stories that you shared with me about going because it wasn't so much about being in Italy and pruning olive trees.
Yeah, it wasn't.
It was about going and experiencing your own self somewhere else.
Yeah. Yes. Improving to myself. See, the dynamic, I think, within my marriage, and certainly it was like this with my mom too, growing up, is be great, but don't be too great. Like you can do hard things, but oh my God, be very afraid. So it was always,
Mm.
and my mother was always sort of like take charge and kind of telling me on the one hand, you're capable of doing incredible things, but then very subconsciously delivering a message that you can't do this alone. You might not be smart enough to figure this out. You're certainly not brave enough to figure it out. And so, these conflicting messages. And then even with my husband, I am very much like a humanities minded person, right? I could get lost in a phone booth. I do not have, I like, it is not my strong suit. Directions, spatial thinking. It's not how my brain is wired, right? Um, so I think the trajectory of my relationship with my husband has been he'll be the one to figure out the logistics of this, and this. And I do other things, but it's sort of that part of me that anybody can do anything with practice, right? Like certain people have proclivities towards certain things, certain people, but everybody can learn something. But the minute you get yourself into a space where you've been either told enough times and you've internalized that voice that I can't do this, I'm too afraid, I'm going to get lost, I'm going to fuck it, get lost, but try it because once you do figure it out, that is something that no one can ever take away from you. And when somebody, even if it's done with love or not meant to be malicious, but this learned helplessness that can become you when somebody's always stepping in and doing for you, um, it's a terrible thing. It's a blow to your confidence. It's it inauthenticates you, and that's some horseshit. Nobody needs that. So this
Yeah.
trip was a big part of me going and saying, "Yeah, I'm terrified. The likelihood that I'll get lost is very real." And I did a few times. But I figured it out, I figured it out. I gave myself the chance to figure it out,
Mhm.
Right.
you know?
I think it's like learning to not live from a place of scarcity and fear,
Yeah.
which a lot of people do. It's also there's something that I tell myself all the time, or lately have been. I've become a very positive person, Angel and Katie, just so you know. Like I've
Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo!
turned
You'll
over a
never
whole
be toxically positive, and when you cross into that terrain, we'll
oh, I'm
talk.
not
But
gonna
no,
be like,
positivity,
yeah,
optimism's good.
not gonna be like a freaking cheerleader every day when the world's burning around me. But I'll say this, something that I tell myself whenever I come up against something, um, which is Angel and Katie knows I normally come up against something bi-monthly basis. There's a solution for every problem. There is
Absolutely.
a solution for every problem. There is a way to solve anything that comes your way. That solution is out there. You just have to find it. And maybe it's not normally in your purview. Well, then you got to get creative and you got to go look for it
Mhm.
because it's out there. You know, getting lost, you can get found again, right? Wow,
Yep.
that was pretty deep. That was pretty deep for me. But like, but even just basic stuff, right? Like when Lulu was sick the other day and shit all over my living room carpet, and I was like, how do you clean dog shit out of your carpet? It was like, I'm like, solution for the problem, So like that's basic. That's like, like that's just an everyday thing, but it applies to everything.
Yeah.
Well, and when we're taking risks, I think, Angel, and I think of you walking into that bar, you know, sometimes we need a little risk for us to take a chance. And you were thirsty, you were hungry, you were kind of a little bit,
Jones in for a smoke.
yeah, yeah, and not sure how you were getting back. I mean, would you have walked into that bar if you had just started your journey? Probably not.
Right.
And think of this amazing experience you wouldn't have had if you hadn't had a little bit of fear or a little discomfort. That's like what I always say. I think we make our children far too comfortable. And that's why they live in our basement. I'm not that mine live in my basement,
Right.
but I mean, you got to feel a little uncomfortable to try something new, right? I
That's
mean,
right.
or there's very little motivation. Um, so I think all that uncertainty and fear and all of that is what propelled all these big changes and choices that you made. I mean, I preach a lot about don't make decisions out of fear, but I think the flip side is make decisions. If it's there, then make decisions from your fear that aren't avoidant decisions. For example, you could have just kept walking away from that bar because you were too scared to go in, right?
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
because of your uncertainty and fear, you chose to go in. And so if it lives in you and you're experiencing that, make the choice to lean into it as opposed to avoid it. And
Right.
I think that's when the coolest things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is. It is one. And this also ties into like, and I just saw yet another article about this, Katie, when we were talking about the beauty of talking to strangers,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
the beauty of small talk with strangers,
Mm-hmm.
and whether it's at a store or whatever. You just going into that bar and then you talking to those younger people, and even you talking like, that's an experience. You could have sat down at that table and ordered a beer and like not looked at anybody and drank your beer and like left.
Yep.
No, you didn't. You
Yep.
ended up like chatting with people. That is becoming a lost art form.
Oh God. Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
really, I guess, I've read several articles now about it where people are like, seriously, the beauty of small talk with strangers
Yep.
And then
in the
there's this,
grocery store line.
yep. And then there's this other cool thing that I think, you know, as middle-aged women, we forget because we're just being ourselves, right? But then there's this cool thing that happens when you're hanging out with younger people. When you leave, you have this joined experience, but you know what they're doing? They're sitting around and they're going, boy, that chick was cool. And and that's like, yeah, she's older, but she's really cool. I mean, I really like it. What is that? That Gen X generation? I mean, there's a whole
Oh,
nother
yeah,
thing that happens that
do.
we're yeah, that we're bridging a gap, our generation with the folks that are in their 20s and stuff now. We're bridging a gap because there was such a huge gap between, baby boomers
Oh God. Yeah.
and there isn't each generation culturally, our gap is getting, I believe, less and less. And so you also gave to them this really cool experience that they'll pepper it and talk about it all a lot differently than you might. But
Yeah.
because you chose to open up and engage with them, there's gifts you gave to them as well.
That's really very kind of you to say. And it is funny. I think you're spot on. And there was one young person from England who was who was the least socio-emotionally challenged. He was lovely. And he had said to me toward the end of the trip something about, I'm going to go back and tell my mom.
Mhm.
that this is something that she could totally do. He's like, "Look at you out here doing this." And so to that point, he did
Right.
mention that, and that was a really nice gift to me.
Yeah.
Because he's like, "I can see her world getting smaller and smaller and smaller." He's
Oh,
like, "We
very
didn't."
insightful young man. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a really, really great, great young guy, and, he's like, he's like, "Well, my mother she's always wanted to travel, and she's never really left her comfort zone," and, so yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now that's awesome because him seeing you as a person of the same age as his mom
Yep.
kind of almost made him view his mother as a person and not just his mom.
Oh, wouldn't that be something if he took that
Yeah, but
back
I
with
think,
him?
Angel, I think that's what happened to you with about
Yeah,
your mother. You just didn't need a physical representation of somebody there.
interesting.
I
Yeah,
think it happened because you were that for those young people in a lot of ways. That's my
interesting.
thought on why you felt reconnected with her at that level. You
I love
embodied
that.
that
I
for those
love
people.
that.
That's cool. See, I just think that's so cool. Like that's why I thought this whole trip was not, like I said, not just going to prune olive trees in Italy.
Yeah.
It was like, I mean, and you know what? For those kids too, and yes, we'll call them kids, even the 32-year-old Michelin star hot friggin' chef chick, comparatively speaking, they are kids to us.
Yep.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And it's not a disrespectful term. Um, but those kids got something out of it as well,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's what's so great about getting out of your comfort zone and talking to people that you don't know, because it is such an exchange. When you sit and talk to people that you've known for years and years and years, even though Angel and I have had some conversations where we solved the problems of the world,
Mhm.
um, you get a whole different perspective from someone you don't know at all.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, it's humanizing, and
Mhm.
I think the world needs a whole lot more of that, especially the whole idea of getting out of your comfort zone, the whole idea of taking away the tribalism that's been foisted upon us and that so many of us have just swallowed wholesale. Like, no, we're
Yeah.
all just human beings having our own human experience here. And when you talk to people, like, we're social beings, we are hardwired, designed to
Yeah.
be communicative. And everybody's so
To want
busy with
connection.
this that,
And to
yeah,
want connection, right?
yeah,
Like that hasn't gone away. And I'm sorry, social media is a poor imitation of real connection. And
A
yes,
it's the lazy version of it, and yeah.
yep,
people are
yep.
starting to realize
But
that,
it doesn't it doesn't require any risk, I
No.
think people have periods in their life, and I would call this a pilgrimage for you, Angel, the way, and
Mm,
I think people have
good word.
these, and it's hundreds and thousands of years old. It is, and, you know, we maybe only get one, maybe we get two, but it's the all-encompassing journey where it tests you and you prevail and you change inside and your perspective changes. And I don't think you lose that. I could understand why you'd be afraid I'm gonna lose this woman I met called me, but I don't think so. I think there's certain times in our lives where those things happen. My wife just had one when her father passed away. She took a road trip on her own to the Badlands, and
Wow.
she just got in her truck. I met her a few days in and spent a day with her, and then I flew back. And but it changed her, and it's all about the timing. And I don't think there's any mistake that you just booked the tickets when you did. And um, there's something that calls to us without sounding too hanky, but and then you just got to do it, you
I don't
know.
think that's hinky at all. I think, there's been little things that I've done, you know, I know people on a regular basis probably think I'm a little nuts, but like, it's not nuts. It's not nuts to be like, you know what? I'm gonna go stay um in a hotel by myself one
Yeah,
night in a town
you
that I've never
do.
been.
You pick some really good ones for yourself, Ellen. You're good. You'll just pick up and go and do the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's incredible.
Luckily I have, my best friend, one of my good friends next door, not to You're still super good, Amy. Not to say she's not at the top of the list, but like we can, watch each other's dogs and stuff like that. And, I've done a couple of things. I mean, like last summer after when I sold my house and, Peter was all set up as an apartment and I was like, I'm gonna live in Canada.
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna live in
Yeah, I
Canada. And
loved that for you. I loved that for you
Yeah, that was
because
good.
you're fearless in many ways, and you've also fine-tuned your ear to listen in, and that's a big deal.
Mhm.
That's a big deal
Mhm.
because, being able to trust your intuition, your instinct, your own bodily knowledge of what is right for you or what it is that you need is a voice that many women, most people, but women, I think especially, we've dialed that shit way down because the culture supports it. The culture fucking encourages it.
Mhm.
Many of our partners encourage it. Like, don't live the fullest expression of who you are. And what a shame.
Yeah,
Um, what a shame that is. But
yeah.
yeah,
you,
and
Ellen, you've got like supersonic hearing when it comes to that.
also a fantastic memory. I remember everything. Holy shit, everything. Oh, I was just thinking when you were talking about your mom. This is one of the funniest stories you ever told me about your mom. I'm
Oh
sure
god.
there's plenty, but like having like four brothers and you all remember I lived at 359 Fayette and you lived at 359 Belmont, like
Oh
yet
dear.
another like kind of, but like you said you were home one day, you guys were younger, your dad was at work at the sporting goods store, your brothers were fighting, they were teasing you, and she was in the kitchen. And this is where like these are one of those moments, right? Brothers are fighting, teasing you, everything. She's in the kitchen, and you said she took her coffee cup and she was like, God damn it. She threw it in the sink, like
Yep,
shattered,
yep,
and she
yep,
walked out the door. And
she
you were all
did.
like, shit.
Right.
Like,
Is
is
she
she
gonna
gone
come
forever?
back? Because we were absolutely at each other, and so the thought was very real, like, we might have just
It
done
would
her in.
have just
We
shit.
might have just
That might
sent
have
our
been it.
mother
We're
away
with
My
dad now.
for good. I'm like, "Shit, my dad can't do this. He doesn't know what he's doing."
He has no anything else.
Oh,
Like as far as women go, and like when you were saying, like, dial it down, or sometimes your partner dials it down. So we don't want women getting to the point, people, where they're smashing their coffee cup in the sink
that's right.
because they're losing their shit. And
Yeah.
so that's why when women do things like what you did, and there's other stories of women who have like, I'm gonna go live in Switzerland for a year and whatever. And the it seems like the automatic reaction from people is like, she crazy? But
Yeah.
if a guy decides to get on a sailboat and circumvent the globe by himself, well, he's fascinating.
He's an adventurer.
There are so many,
Yeah.
you know?
yeah,
And
Yeah.
so
there
I think you get to the point, especially at this age, and I think probably a little bit younger now with some of the younger ladies coming up because they have been raised in a different way. You get to a point where you don't care. You don't
Mhm.
care.
Oh,
I'm gonna go to Italy and I'm gonna prune olive trees. Like just like the one time I told my mom, like like I told you, I've always wanted to go to Daryl's house, Daryl Hall's place in the
Yep.
middle of nowhere. And he serves food and he is banned
Yeah,
every night and
and then you
everything.
tried to do that and it got canceled
Remember
twice.
the no, the one time it was a friggin' snowstorm, and then the second time my Airbnb sprung a fucking water leak, and I had to like
Yeah,
cancel it.
I feel like
And
you're not
everyone's
supposed
like,
to come
maybe
back.
this isn't
I
for
know, right?
you. And I was like, no, this is definitely for me. I have to go during the summer. That's what I have to do.
There it
But
is.
like, like I told my mom, I was like, oh, I want to go to Daryl's house. Like, I've been wanting to do that forever. And she was like, no, you can't do that. Why not? Because alone?
Alone?
Yeah,
Oh, that's so generational though.
Sure is, yeah.
Oh boy.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. But
Yeah.
that's just one of the because I actually I get an email from Daryl's house all the time, not to go off on a tangent, but like someone who was coming, I think during the summer, is Tony Bennett's daughter. And I
Oh.
was like, look, mom, Tony Bennett's daughter is going to perform at Daryl's house. Well, then it legitimized it. She was like, Tony Bennett's daughter. Oh my gosh. I was like, oh, so now it's real, right? Like,
Now you
because
can go.
now you can go. Well, I just want to thank you. Is there anything else you want to add?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Of course, you're the guest.
Hmm. Not off the top of my head.
I mean, would you do it again? Would you
Absolutely.
yep. Would you go to a different region? Would you try a different, like
Absolutely.
Spain or
Yep.
Portugal or
Yep.
something?
Yep.
Because they're mostly European, right? These
No,
workaway,
God.
are they in the
There,
US?
there are a slew of them that are based in Europe, but you can go to Vietnam, you can go to Thailand, you could go, I mean, it's global. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah.
Make sure you read the reviews carefully. I have
Yes.
a colleague whose daughter went, and unfortunately they ran into a situation, but they didn't read the reviews very well, and the accommodations were subpar, and
Oh dear.
what was asked for them to take care of, they were being told to do way more. So just make sure, because the reviews are really on point.
Yes.
Did
Yes.
they stay after they got there and that
Oh, they
happened? Or
ended
did
up
they
leaving. They contacted work, they were able, they left. Yeah.
Oh, so you're
because they
familiar with
I
WorkAway?
am. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like I said, I heard a number of stories from particularly the woman who was from Shanghai who left since gone from home since she'd been 17, and she's been all over the place, and she's like, this was one of the best ones. She told a couple of real like horror stories about
There's
whether it
some,
was accommodations or whatever it was. Yeah.
it
So
turns into slave labor with,
yes.
yeah.
oh my
Yes.
gosh, that's not my jam at
Right.
all. Be out
Yeah.
of there. If I could find my way out of there.
Right.
Well, I think it's great. And as with anything, you do have to do a little research and you do have to be mindful. You can't just be like, this sounds great and jump in. You have to be, like you had an interview with the guy who was going to be the host. Like you guys had a
Yep.
FaceTime or something like that.
Yep, we
Um, so we're not saying, get your hobo bag on a stick and just set out. Like we're saying
Yeah.
there's opportunities out there to do these things that are also still safe and legit.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Right.
And I don't know that there's any real substitute for the education you get when you're traveling.
Mm.
It's just learning a different culture, learning about different people, certainly getting out of your comfort zone, facing the fear of what happens if, like, yeah, well, what happens if, like,
What happens
just,
if
yeah, you just tell yourself whatever happens, I'll be able to handle,
Mhm.
even if it's
there's a
hard.
solution for every problem?
Yeah, 100%.
Don't catastrophize it.
Don't do it. Don't do
Don't
Yeah.
it.
catastrophize it.
Don't do it.
Mm.
All right. Well, thank you, Angel.
So nice to meet you, Angel. What a
So nice to
wonderful,
meet you too.
thank
And
you.
Ellen, thank you for inviting me.
Of course, I thought it would be a great episode.
I think it's been pretty fucking awesome.
I like it.
So,
Yeah.
you know. Oh, and I did want to plug at the end two things. I sent this to Angel the other day. On BuzzFeed, you can subscribe to their only good internet email, which you only get good internet stories.
Ah,
So that's on BuzzFeed. And I got my first one the other day. It was so cute. They find all these like, positive,
nice.
not toxically positive, but like positive stories because they are out there, friends. There is
Mhm.
positivity happening in the world.
Mhm.
Yep,
Thank God.
for
And then
sure.
also I wanted to plug my book club. The one where, I read that book last week and like Katie said, it almost destroyed me. The one called Dear Girl. And then I did the 2 episodes this week for the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. So
That's awesome.
there.
Uh-huh.
Great books out there. Great books out there for girls in middle school and high school.
Thank
Like
God.
seriously.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
they're super fun. And yeah, what I have right here. So the high school one, Rules for Being a Girl, written
Mhm.
by Candace Bushnell, who also wrote what? Sex in the City. That is correct. This
Oh,
is for high schoolers.
No
And
way.
then for middle schoolers, Pippa Park raises her game.
Pippa Park. Get after it, Pippa.
I know. So I read chapter 1 of each of those. I don't think it's a big hit, but I don't care. I like doing it. So just putting that out there. And yeah, so that's all I have. And then we'll see what Katie and I do next time. I think I want to do all the positive news stories that are out there.
Yeah, that would be probably
We need some
overdue for that.
positivity.
Let's
We do.
go.
All right, ladies, I gotta go.
I got to go to, we went longer than I thought we would. So,
Yeah.
all right, let me
Bye,
make sure.
guys. Have a
There was so
wonderful
much to say.
day.
Bye, Katie.
Bye.
Bye, Al.
Bye. Love you.
Love you. Ciao.